anyways, back to Harbaugh. Yes, that is not the whole allegation. It's, I guess, high level sending people to go scout games and sign steal, I guess is what you could say.
Makes
Um,
sense.
that's pretty much the gist of that. Uh, Harbaugh did make a statement. I just looked it up a little bit ago. Um, of course, he said in a statement, I do not have any knowledge or information regarding the University of Michigan football program legally stealing signals, nor have I directed any staff member or others to participate in an off campus scouting assignment, Harbaugh said in a statement. Harbaugh said he and his staff would fully cooperate with the investigation and that he doesn't condone or tolerate anyone doing anything illegal or against NCAA rules. Um, Ward Emanuel said in a statement, I want to personally assure you that UM Athletics will offer its complete cooperation to the NCAA in this matter. At the University of Michigan, all of us are committed to the highest standards of ethics and integrity for all members of our community. This is the same expectation I have of all coaches, staff, and student athletes. So, before I get into what I think, uh, coming from Sparty Nation, I've seen the comments, and it's fair. All's fair.
What
Um,
comments? What are the
oh,
comments? What are you seeing on your end? So you're a Michigan guy, right? The algorithm knows you're a Michigan guy. I'm curious what is popping up in front of you.
a lot of it is daily MSU, like on Twitter
Oh,
or
well,
X.
sure. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's just rough. I've seen people say they should forfeit every game the rest of the year. Um, like, oh well, it's obvious now that it took Harbaugh 5 years for them to become good, and I mean, it's the expected things, right? I mean, that's rival talk. That's always what will happen. Same thing with Mel Tucker and some Michigan fans and how they reacted to that. Called it the meltdown era at Michigan State because it's meltdown. I saw I got a chuckle out of
How
that
dare
one.
you? How dare you
Uh,
bring in sexual assault allegations into a scouting situation?
hey, no, I'm just saying it's the banter back and forth.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm just
you know,
joking.
um,
Just
yeah.
banter.
So I mean, it's your typical like rival talk. Like you can't you can't fault people for saying the things that they're saying because I mean it would go the other way no matter what anyone else would say. Like Michigan fans, oh, you're gonna bring that, that type of fan base. Uh
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, just kind of taking it on the chin for now. It's more like it's funny because when it comes to the other school, it's always guilty until proven innocent, right? Like MSU fans saying about Michigan, Michigan fans say that about MSU. It could be if Central and Western were doing in a scandal. You know what I mean? It's just that type of thing.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
And all's fair. I think people get a little too into it in regards to, in the age of social media and how, people tend to get very upset very quickly about
Mm,
things that truthfully don't matter in the grand scheme of life. But it is fun to
Sure.
read. It's
Yeah.
fun to read. Um, I don't I don't really reply to anything just because I don't want to give it that energy, I guess.
mm.
Um, I have thoughts and I'll get to my thoughts, but um what's it like what are your guys' thoughts on the whole thing?
I'll go first since I don't really have much to say. Um, I mean, I don't know if it really. I don't know exactly. All I know is the sign stealing thing. I don't know anything else. But if it's specifically signs, I don't know if the sign stealing really made much of a difference. Even though most teams already do that anyway, in a sense of just watching film. I don't know. I mean, I know they had people, or they said that they had allegedly said they had people go to the games and record, but I don't know if that makes them that much better if they're doing it. I mean, I know it can be an advantage if you're, but our teams, like Bill and I were talking about it earlier, it's like our teams using the same signs for every single game. Like, probably not. I mean, I'm sure there's similar signs, but I don't know. I think it's kind of blown out of proportion, but it all makes sense as to why they're winning now. So
Mhm.
it's the only way. I can't see them winning without the sign.
Take it on the chin. You take it on the chin.
Take it on the chin. I've seen you take a few things on the chin.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well,
I don't know, man. It's whatever. I mean, honestly, they're doing what they want to do or trying to do to win. It's pretty much on brand for Michigan. I mean, in the Harbaugh, especially the Harbaugh era, and it's fine. I mean, the only time it would really suck is like against Michigan State, where you really can't change up your signals because we've got a fake head coach, redshirt freshman QB starting in a second game. They're probably not changing a whole lot up. I don't know if you saw this, but they actually originally when they notified Michigan State on Wednesday, they notified MSU on Wednesday that this had been going on or that they're investigating it. They had given Michigan State had the opportunity to potentially cancel the game, and they had thought about it.
nice.
Uh,
Get that
but
dub.
but then they didn't. Well, it wouldn't have been a dub. It'd just been a canceled game. And I was like, man, I really wish they would have for their own sake. You know who? If the roles were reversed, there's no way Michigan doesn't cancel this game. Like if Michigan State was rolling, 1-2 team in the country, Michigan State or Michigan at 2-4, Michigan would cancel, just like they did in 2020 against OSU with their COVID situation. Because OSU was going to hang 100 on them that year, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Oh,
half
yeah.
3/4 of the team had
Hey,
COVID. But,
I'm not. Look,
whatever.
allegedly.
Hmm.
You see, this is what I was looking for. You see Bill's face? He's taking it as a shot. I wish Michigan State would do what Michigan does.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
They protect themselves as far as possible, as much as possible. You can even go to hockey. The Great Lakes Invitational a year or 2 years ago, Michigan knew they were going to have players going to the U.S. national team, and they still agreed to go to this invitational. They didn't know how good Western Michigan was going to be before that invitational. So Michigan lost 2 or 3 of their best players to the national team, as they knew they would, but Western was like killing it.
Yeah.
And Western would have definitely beat them, but Michigan pulled out saying, "Hey, we lost some guys. We can't go this time." It was something like that. Hey, I wish State did that. I really, really do. I wish they would have said, "You know, we're canceling this game this Saturday. Michigan's sign stealing. We're running out interim coach, freshman QB. Don't do it." Michigan would have canceled the game. And you know what? The Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News, they would have been running stories how Michigan State is the worst program to have ever graced college football because they're out there cheating just to get to where they're at now. But you know what? Michigan doesn't care. And they shouldn't. I wish Michigan State had the attitude of, we're going to win at any cost. We don't care. We're going to do what it takes to win. Now this is 2 investigations Michigan's got going over random stuff. And you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? In the future, they might vacate a title. That doesn't mean anything because it still happened. You still won it. Nobody ever is like, "Oh, you didn't actually win that, even though you won it." You still won it. You know, like,
yeah, can't take that away.
I just wish the State was like that. But they're not. They don't got the nuts to do it. They won't do it. They could have canceled that game.
They're afraid of getting kicked out of the Big Ten.
Dude, it was just,
I
I don't
mean,
know. That was my big takeaway from the whole thing. It was not anything. I was like, I don't care that Michigan's doing it. Honestly, it is outside the rules. I'm sure most, or at least a lot of other teams are doing it. You just got to get caught, and then, you know, I just wish we had the same
which
attitude that where we don't care, and just went ahead and did the stuff anyway. And maybe they do and haven't got caught. I don't know, but I tell you what, MSU would have tucked tail and run. Michigan stands up and they're like, "Hey, we didn't know nothing. We won't know nothing. We never will know nothing." And you know what? It didn't happen. You can shove it.
Yeah.
You know, like 2018, the Devin Bush throwing the tissy out on the field. You know, I've talked about that before.
yeah,
And
the
then
linking the arms, yeah, got it. Yep.
where Devin Bush threw the tizzy. And then did you know after in the locker room they ended up causing over 6 figures worth of damage in the Michigan State visitors locker room and smeared poop, like literal shit around the locker room,
Oh,
and nothing was made of that.
I thought they got fined.
Michigan
thought
State
that's
got
what-
fined.
They didn't get in trouble for that whole thing happening in the locker room.
If they did, it was quiet.
I thought they did.
It not meant. Here's the thing: you might know about it because you're a very in tuned fan of your team. I can tell you that if 100 people who like Michigan and Michigan State listen to this, 90 of them would have no idea that that even happened.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that happened.
Exactly. If that would have happened at Michigan and Michigan State did that, everybody would know.
Mm.
There's no dude. ESPN would probably be sitting outside examining feces. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, they got those
but
BD
that's what they
Sports
should
Talk boys
do.
here, or what? We got a
That's
feces
what they
thing
should
going
do,
on.
man. You know, it goes back to where we talked about, I talked about back in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3rd episode of our podcast. State just doesn't have the nuts to do what they should do to be at the top. Michigan does it, and it's a great example. Honestly, it is. It's a good example. Do what you want to do. F the consequences, because it doesn't really matter. What are they going to do after you win the championship? Say, hey, you didn't actually win that.
So
Yeah,
so
you
you
did.
think, so you think they did do it?
Dude, the
But
only reason
will
I feel
say-
like they
Go ahead.
this is the last thing. The only reason I feel like there's definitely merit to it is that I've seen some stuff out of like legitimate sports books, or I heard this, where they're talking about taking Michigan off of their books potentially for the rest of the year. That's big money. And that's
fair.
what moves needles for me. Like if a lot of money's involved, then that's probably something. Right? If it's nothing, nobody's going to. But money moves the world, especially in college and professional sports.
Do you think it may be out of caution? I mean, yeah, they can talk about it, but will they? I mean, I guess you're to your point. If they were to take Michigan off the books for the rest of the year, there's definitely something there, right? But if they say that and it never happens, you know what I mean? Then I mean,
I'm not saying Michigan's guilty because I don't know. But there's probably something to it. And there's probably something most teams have something going similar. I
That's
don't
what I
think
was gonna
Michigan's
say,
the
too.
only team
Yeah,
out
I don't-
there
I don't think
right,
Michigan's
trying
the only
this.
team doing that. I think
Just
pretty
like
much all
Belichick
teams are
got
doing
caught.
that. Yeah.
Right? The Patriots got caught. I'm sure a lot of other teams are doing something similar.
Yeah.
And maybe
sure.
not. And it is that bad. But
Right?
I
Yeah.
doubt it. I
Oh,
doubt
yeah.
it.
There's
I
so
don't
many teams too that I can't see. You know what I mean? There's definitely almost all the teams are doing something similar to that.
So I got this going one of two ways, right? So the first way is what they described, where it was like I read something where he has a vast network of people going out to games and scouting signs and going, you know what I mean, scouting
Mm,
future opponents and playoff opponents and things like that. And if that is the case and it is true, then we talked about it earlier, he needs to just come out and just say, "Hey, we did it." Like,
right.
just you know what, if you're don't drag this out. Don't don't make this into a thing where, I mean, the NCAA, and I'll get into my other point about this. Um, you don't need to be giving the NCAA any more ammo than what they're already been given. Um, so if it is the case where they did do it, you just need to come out and say it. Just get it out there. Admit you did something. Take it. No, they they
no,
just
no,
get
no,
in
no.
front
Get
of it.
this championship first, man. Get the title
uh,
first, then admit.
as a fan, I feel
Don't
like it'd
let
be,
them step in. Do not let the NCAA step in.
oh, they're in.
Let
Oh,
the
they're
Big
in.
Ten,
They've
they're
been in
in,
since.
yes, but they're going to let this play out. You
Oh
at
yeah,
least got through the season.
yeah.
Let it, no, now's not the time. Do not admit. No, deny, deny, deny.
I
Deny.
if Harbaugh hadn't come out with a statement, that's what I had been waiting for, was for anything to come out from him. And if it had just dragged on, then I'd been like, oh well, we're in some deep crap. But him coming out and saying that they'll fully cooperate is not Jim Harbaugh, for starters. Like, I mean,
Well,
that's been made pretty clear with everything that's gone on since he's
I
been
mean,
there.
this time he at least had to say that, considering that was the big issue from the last one.
Right. Right. But
And he's
I
probably a
mean,
bit smart enough, I would think, to have plausible deniability, or at least try and make it to where there's plausible deniability. Like, hey, Sharon, you know, and Sharon's got to take it on, whatever. Like,
mhm,
if you're smart, that's what you're doing.
mhm. Well,
And he's a
and
smart guy,
yeah, he's nuts. Um,
crazy but smart.
yeah. Um, and the things that he said in the statement, like, um, he like, I do not have any knowledge or information regarding the University of Michigan football program, nor have I directed any staff or members or others to participate in off-campus scouting assignment. Uh, he doesn't condone or tolerate anyone doing anything illegal or against NCAA rules. Um, that kind of puts me at ease with it. I know, I get it. I know he has to say that it is what it is, but it does put me at ease that he said that, because all right, if it finds out that something happened and that's a lie, then see ya. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep letting things like this happen, especially if it did happen. Like, if I think he's gone anyway.
I think
That's
he's
what I was going to
gone.
get into next. I think he's gone. I think after
Yeah.
this year, he probably takes, if Chicago fires their coach, I think he goes to Chicago. Um, it makes sense.
Yeah, please don't let Ben Johnson go.
Yeah, I know.
Although
I
Jim's
know.
a good coach, so it's like,
Yeah, yeah. So that statement does put me at ease, because now it's either you did it and you lied, or you firmly have faith that you didn't do this or have any knowledge of this, right? I
Mhm.
mean, coming from my side, a Michigan fan, like for me, that's like, okay, well, now rubber meets the road. It's one way or the other. There's no middle ground at this point. So, um, in regards to that, I'm going to take a couple guesses as to who it was, and I know it's one of them because I saw I started seeing on X, I keep calling it Twitter X, um, of Greg Schiano, and at the time when I was watching that game, and they interviewed him at halftime, he's like, "Oh, there's just something not right. There's just something not right going on out there, and we're gonna have to make adjustments to make sure it doesn't happen." I'm it's not verbatim, but it went something like that, and I'm like, at the time, I go, "Well, is he talking about the refs? Is like Harbaugh chirping at him? Whatever the case is." And it didn't make sense. Well, now if I think it's Shiano, and I think it's that nerd Tom Allen in Indiana too. That
Mhm.
loser nerd down in
Nerd.
Bloomington put up a they're playing each other this week, right? They're
Yeah.
playing each other this week. I bet those two got on the phone together. Tom Allen's like, "Man, we got beat. We got beat by Michigan so badly. I don't know. We started off hot, and then all of a sudden they just put the whooping on us." And Greg Shannon's like, "Oh yeah, I hear you. I just didn't feel it was right. We should go complain to the Big Ten or the NCAA, huh? It ain't fair." You know what? Screw that nerd from Indiana. I can't stand that guy anyway. He's cheering and when he beat Akron in double overtime.
Nerd.
Loser. That guy's a loser.
Wins a win.
And okay,
I'd be jacked up. Winning double.
I mean, yeah, I get it. Whatever. Loser. Uh, and okay, so you adjust your signs at halftime. You still got outscored 17-0 in the second half anyway. So I don't even know what you were getting at. You're a loser too, Shiano. I'm upset. Because I know it was him. I know it was definitely him.
It was you, Greg.
It was
I
Greg.
saw you.
Yeah. No. It doesn't help with the whole NCAA thing, with the whole recruiting incident, satellite camps. Harbaugh was very vocal before the season about the players getting paid their worth and getting a percentage of TV deals and things like that. And I'm sure the NCAA doesn't like that either. And I
Wow.
just,
It's quite a
I
turn for
mean,
him too.
I mean, I don't know. I just, all to say, I think he's gone after this year.
I definitely agree with
Unfortunately,
that. It does seem like, to me, whether he knows or not, and he may not, but it seems like everything is like, let's push this. Let's push all the stuff. And he'll have opportunities, and they're going to have a great end of the season, barring catastrophic injuries, like literally catastrophic injuries.
Mm.
They're going to make, I can't imagine they don't make the playoff, but they'll at least be in at minimum, a New Year's Six bowl, and he'll have opportunities. I mean, he's done it in the NFL. That's why he goes around every year. I mean, he tried to get the Vikings job last year, but I think he'll look better coming out of this season too. But we'll see. Yeah, I just agree with you there. I guess all that's to say is I agree with you. I think he is gone after this year.
and why? I mean, if you got to look at it from his standpoint too, to where it's like, say this doesn't happen, or say this isn't true, right? Say say after everything you find out it was Greg Schiano being a baby. And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're alleging this, we heard," and things like that. Um, I mean, why would you just wanna put up with this every single season, and when you can just go to the NFL, which is your dream job anyway?
I mean, at the end of the day, that's the epitome of the sport. And Jim Harbaugh is an incredibly competitive person. I mean, you want to be the best in the best spot. I mean, you can't down a guy for wanting to achieve the pinnacle of the sport, and he's got real close. So I certainly can't blame him. And the NFL's a better gig if you have any kind of success. You don't have the full year recruiting your own team now. I mean, dude, NIL, you got all that stuff. Like, at least in the NFL, you got the GM handling contracts, right? You don't got to deal with
Mm.
that. Like, okay, that's between the GM and the agents, whatever. You don't have to recruit your own team because they're on 3 to 4 year contracts. Now with the way we got now, which is fine. It's just like there's no commitment. You're gone. You're gone next year. And
Mhm,
if I was him, and there was a legitimate job, the Chicago's perfect for him. Honestly,
mhm.
they're gonna have the defense is a couple pieces away. Who knows what they'll do with their offense? But they got playmakers. I mean, he knows what to do.
Mhm.
Mm.
I've heard, I read that they would, take Marvin Harrison if Jim was the coach, he'd take Marvin Harrison Jr. and then trade down and get JJ, and
Sure.
just take JJ with him.
Plus, with former Big Ten commish as the president in Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of connections. That
Mhm.
would make a lot of sense. And he played there
Mm.
for a cup of coffee. So
You know, um, it will be interesting when he does leave college, whether it be retire or go to the NFL, because I almost feel like he's crazy enough to be like just a tell all of everything he knows about.
eventually,
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
well,
Or
and here's the thing too. Just sorry.
no, you're good.
It crossed my mind. The president of Michigan is Ono.
Yeah. Santa
Yeah,
Ono.
yeah. Uh-huh. They said back in like January, February, they were working on a contract with Harbaugh,
Yeah.
and nothing's come up since. I mean,
Mhm.
they should be trying to lock him into that rolling, like the Tom Izzo contract. There's other coaches who have the contract like every year it just extends out another year for like five. Like technically, Tom Izzo has a 5 year contract, and then every year it just adds another year on. So he's always got a 5 year contract until he says otherwise. And other coaches have something similar, and I think that's what Jim Harbaugh's looking for. And I don't
Mhm.
know if because of the investigation plus this that they're like hesitant, but I mean, come on. If you want to get it done, they could have. I feel like they could have got it done, and
Well,
that's
and I,
also what makes me think he's going to go.
well, I don't know how much you know about like the
A lot.
whole Jim Harbaugh Ward Manual situation and how
Oh, not much.
yeah. So um Jim went over Ward Manual in regards to his contract. And it's been said and
Is
rumored
that why the
that
Ono thing came out?
yeah, yeah, because he ended up going up to Ono and saying and talking about his contract instead of Ward Manual because they weren't getting anything done. And then there was the whole NIL thing where, he was trying to get NIL money and it just wasn't happening. And that was the whole reason he was that rumored that he was looking to go to the NFL because he was trying to get players money and get a contract.
Well, just as a
Um,
quick perspective, Ryan Day was at a booster meeting saying they needed like 13 mil in NIL money just to stay competitive.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
you got to be out there asking for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that was a big thing with Michigan, is that they didn't want to give that to him. And so that's why there was um, a lot of speculation of him leaving because of that, and not getting not getting a better deal on his contract and whatnot. But it's rumored that him and Ward Manuel do not get along. But I mean, what do you do if you're Ward Manuel? You know what I mean? I mean, people were up in arms with Ward Manuel when they wouldn't everyone's like, you need to extend him, you need to extend him. Nothing's happening. Now they were during the offseason, they were going after Ward Manuel for it. And then it came out that he went over Ward Manuel's head, and it was like, oh,
It's
and
safe
a
to
lot of
see,
people were upset about it.
he's probably offended about not making as much as Mel Tucker. I would be,
Hmm.
I don't make as much as Mel Tucker, and I'm offended.
Well,
Uh,
and I mean, I don't know if it's money. I mean, everything's about money, but I mean, in the grand sense of things, I don't think it's about money for him. I think it's about money for, like I said, NIL. I think it's about money for his assistants, because he's known to do that, is give money to like he took his bonus and gave it to his assistants last season. So, I mean, he's said it before. He's like, I've made my money, da 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 da. So, anyways,
but it is
I,
too,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's, if anything, I feel like Jim Harbaugh is not like, I need this money. He's the kind of guy that's like, I should be paid this money because I should be respected in this manner, as opposed to like my contemporaries. I feel like
Mhm,
that's more of a Jim Harbaugh. It's not more like, I should be paid this much money. It's more like, hey, you should respect me and appreciate me enough to
mhm.
do this.
Right, right.
And we'll see.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, like I said, now with that, to me personally, with that statement, it's either you're telling the truth, or you're lying at this point, because now it's not, there's no gray area. You either are lying and you're telling me that, we would never do this, and then come to find out you did do it, then that's it. But if, it comforts me to think that, I would hope that he's telling the truth. So, time will tell. But all right, let's get into some games.